Hi everybody, today we are talking to Nick Daley and Lisa Vickery from Macdonalds Farm, a touring park and glamp site near Padstow in Cornwall. Hi guys.
Hi there, you alright?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Hi there. Thank you for agreeing to have a chat with us today. We're talking to you as our entrepreneurs of choice for this month or this issue.
Okay.
So I guess to start with, please can you tell us about your enterprise and give us a brief outline of what you're doing there in Cornwall?
Yeah, no problems at all. I'll hand you over to Lisa. She's probably best to say that.
So we are basically camping and touring park here on the North Coast, which is a beautiful place to be. We bought the farm 4 years ago, and we have spent the last 4 years renovating it to quite a high standard, somewhere we'd want to camp with our children. So we're quite family focused here. We have a range of camping, glamping and B&B rooms available. And we're really proud of it. We just got the 5-star rosette from Visit England.
Oh, congratulations. Wonderful.
Thank you. We got that last month. For us, it's 4 years of really hard work, working all year round, really. Even when we close for the season, we continue to work through the winter. We've got 3 children under 3, so it's been a labour of love. But wow. We're really happy we've got to a place that we're quite proud of our campsite here.
Brilliant. So tell us a little bit about what you were doing before you came by the farm. Where were you? What were you doing?
Okay, so we never owned a campsite before. Basically, Nick, our partner, he basically works in Surrey, so he owns a company in Surrey that's a property development company. So in terms of us turning this farm around, he's very good at having a vision and then creating that vision. I come from a broadcast world, so I was a journalist at the BBC for 20 years, nothing to do with campsites at all. I used to make documentaries about people like us. And we moved down from Surrey 4 years ago in lockdown, pregnant with our first child, and I got made redundant from my job. And we then found this campsite within a year of moving down here. We had no intention of buying a business, but it seemed like a really good idea. And also, given that my job involved a lot of organisation, we thought it would be quite a good match for me to do some work here.
You had the skills, brilliant.
Yeah, I think the alpacas sold it. The farm came with quite a few farm animals, and I think we saw the alpacas and thought that looked like fun. That's what we did.
Gosh, so what kind of state was the land in? Was it an actual working farm, or was it a tourist attraction? What did you have? What did you have to work with?
Yeah, so I'll take that one if I may. There was an established business that was about 20 years old, but the core business was actually a day attraction. I mean, it's called Macdonalds Farm. I use that term really loosely because, yes, we do have some animals, but I'm sure there's lots of farmers around here that would sort of chuckle at us if we actually called ourselves a full farm. It's not really like that. So what it was originally was a day attraction, and then they had the 3 B&B rooms, and they had a campsite. But because, as you can imagine, it's quite difficult to run all 3 businesses, from a campsite, a day attraction, and then a cafe that they had as well. And the owners were lovely. I think they bought it with an expectation of wanting. They bought it. They owned it 5 years previous to us buying it. And I think they intended to do a lot of modernisation work, but then realised how much that could potentially cost and chose to run what was here before. And we came in and thought it hadn't really been updated for about 15 years. So everything was very old and at the point where it was kind of putting plasters on everything. So what we chose to do was to focus on the accommodation. So we went into planning and created a glamping area, extended the pitches and reduced the day attraction. So it's smaller, but then charge a lot less money for day entry.
Yeah, I saw that. So you can come in as is it £3 for an adult, £2 for a child?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's a really lovely, attractive way of providing quite quite a good facility for people also through the tourists. It's very affordable is what I'm trying to say. I'm guessing you're getting then more business through the cafe as well that way.
Yeah, I think what we struggled with is when we purchased, you're absolutely right, when we purchased it, we looked at the reviews, and I think customers' expectations now have grown over the last, when this was built 15 years ago, it was a really quaint, lovely little place to come and visit. But now, places offer so much more, don't they? Everyone wants kind of more interactive and automated stuff for people to do. And the reviews were just kind of quite underwhelming about the day attraction. So what we decided to do was when we did the campsite refurb, we decided not to have a day attraction at all. But people just kept turning up that had been coming for years. So we then sort of thought, well, we've got to charge something for entry. So we sort of feel now that it offers real good value.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be, certainly in that part of the world where you can't do a lot of things particularly affordably that way. So who had, the vision? How experienced were you in glamping, and where did you research what it was you would like to offer and find the structures and the layout and the whole offering, really?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, like Lisa said, my background is property, so we do vast amounts of planning and taking sort of fields into being housing development. So the planning background was something that was really sort of my remit. We've been on lots of campsites throughout the years, and I sort of grew up sleeping in backs of vans, whether it was down at the beach or whether it was in a proper campsite. And what we wanted to do was try and create something that had that real glampy feel to it. So it was a bit funky, so we didn't want sort of traditional toilet blocks, for example. So we sort of created cladded buildings with uplighting and little plant areas where you come in, so it sort of feels a bit rustic, and just offer a bit of luxury as well, because especially in Cornwall, the weather can be amazing but equally pretty rubbish. So we wanted it to offer something for all seasons,
Yeah. And did you make use of like the Farm Business Innovation Show and the glamping show, or did you basically hit Google or through the magazines, or how did you go about researching what you wanted to offer?
It's quite interesting that. In terms of, I actually went to the glamping show. Lisa couldn't come because one of our little ones was unwell. And that did result in us purchasing 4 safari tents this year. That was really good to sort of show me what was on the market. Yeah. Whilst I think your off-the-shelf glamping pods are pretty good nowadays, I still think there's a lot of, I think because we come from a construction background, I kind of look at a glamping unit costing £60,000. I think, well, for 80,000, I can build something that's a lot better than that.
Yeah.
And what the big thing for us is that we also want to consider ongoing maintenance. So we've put in, for example, grower, sanitary ware throughout with a view that hopefully it lasts for many years. And a lot of the pods that you buy, they're very glossy when you walk into them, but the sort of back end side of it, in my opinion, is not great, and I'm just not sure how they'll wear in sort of 4 or 5 years' time.
That is a very good point. And did you go for? I'm just interested. Were they the clear sky safari tents or the Bond safari tents, or? Yeah,
so I have to say we were going to go with another company, but in the end we did end up going with Clear Sky. And so I have to say they were absolutely fantastic. Mark, the owner, Mark, the owner was amazing. The install team was amazing. We did quite a lot of research on a variety of different tents, and their tents are sort of up there with the high end ones. But the service was amazing. Really, really good. So we did go with them. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so you're open from April to October. Is that right?
Yeah, 1st of April until the 5th of October.
And obviously you've got your B&B rooms throughout the year.
Yeah.
And how many glamping tents do you have?
Yeah, so we've got we had 4 bell tents which we've we've now converted on the deck to safari tent. We've then got a potting shed, which is a two-berth sort of timber cabin, for want of a better term. And then we did buy one of these, they're called a Finman sleeper.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I bought one of those from the glamping show, and that's quite quirky. That's been a bit of a labour of love. So we've put that together as well, and then we've got 70? Sorry, 71 camping. I don't know what he's put in. 71 camping pitches, of which I think about 50-ish are electric. Sorry, I probably should know that. And then we've got the 3 bed and breakfast rooms that we refurbished as well, which is above the cafe.
Gosh, and the cafe. I'm very impressed that your cafe is open from 8 in the morning to 8:30 at night, with all manner of amazing dishes and offerings in there. I'm guessing that was quite a ramp up from what was there before?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what they offered before was a very basic food offering, and it was fine. I mean, it worked really well for what they were doing. The cafe, I'm sort of hesitating because I'm not sure whether that was a good decision yet or not. What it's done is it's brought another layer. It's another business, because obviously you then need to employ a chef to cook food. So before you know it, you've gone from focusing on accommodation, day attractions, to now offering food. But what we were finding is we didn't do food the first year we opened, and people would turn up, pay to come in, have a lovely time, and then come to it's like a bar cafe point we have, and say, right, what's for lunch? And we kind of went, we don't do lunch, but we've got some sandwiches in the fridge. And you kind of watch these people's faces go, what?
Yeah.
So we then installed a commercial kitchen, and this is our second year. Well, we only installed that last August, so this is our first full season with a full working kitchen. And
a very fancy chef by the looks of it.
Pardon?
And a very fancy chef, quite a renowned chef.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a local guy, and he owned his own restaurant not far from us for a number of years. Obviously, with what happened with the energy prices and everything going up, it just became a bit too marginal. So which has been great that he's come to join us. And we've also got a sort of dedicated small team that do pizzas as well, which are all made from scratch, which work really well. So yeah, the food side is definitely exciting.
And I'm guessing, is that bringing people in just for the food offering? Because it does look very lovely from what I've seen on the website. I'm guessing it becomes a bit of a destination to come and eat.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are, like all these things, everything you start up takes time, doesn't it? And I think the local consensus of what Macdonalds Farm was is very different to what it is now. So it takes time for that word of mouth to spread. But we're definitely starting to pick up. I mean, obviously, when we're in high season, it's kind of, I don't know what to tell you, it's a no-brainer. There's people there and they order food. It's more trying to, the shoulder months and when you're not full, trying to get people in so you can service that staff between sort of 8, as you said, to 8:30. But it's definitely growing.
Yeah. And I love that you're offering, music as well and events. You're really sort of rounding out the offering. You've got a bit of everything going on there. So the musicians that you have, you've got quite a busy events calendar, really.
Well, I'll pass you over to Lisa for that one.
Okay.
That's definitely a remit. So
yeah, I get to the nice things here, but for us, it was really we're kind of in the middle of nowhere here. So it really was when we've got people in, let's capture them and make them have a nice time here rather than going elsewhere to look for entertainment. So we really want to support local, and I had a really enjoyable couple of months sourcing local talent here, which we have loads of in Cornwall. And there's lots of young musicians, very talented musicians, that really want an opportunity to play. So we found some fantastic people that will come and play for us. We also want to engage with families that come here. So we do things that a lot of campsites do, like family quizzes and games. We have our animal activity is very popular. So because we have animals, we really wanted to make the most of that. And so we offer anything from goat walking, pony experiences. You can come and pet our fairy little friends here. Animal tours. We do all of that, and that's again making the most of and looking at opportunities within the farm to create an income, but also to give people a really unique time when they come here. And I think that's the one thing we have. Our USP is we have this little petting farm. So it really helps us to kind of sell this place, especially to young families.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got, well, they're not so young now. They're 6 and nearly 10. But if we're going anywhere, the first question is there a cat? Which I often have to ask. And if there's not a cat, is there something else that's furry that isn't too bouncy, like a dog? But yeah, and once you've found the place, there really isn't any swerving away from it. So you end up going back and back and back because you just have those wonderful memories. And I don't know about your children, but my children just want to recreate those memories every year, which is really sweet. So it becomes easy for us to select where we go because once we found a good place with a good cat, we just keep going back. So I guess it's the same with you. You must have a lot of repeat. Mind you, you've only been going 4 years, but I bet you'll find you'll have a lot of repeat business.
Yeah. I think, it's really interesting because before us, the original owners that built this place, John and Karen, are very much loved and still very well respected in the community. They captured people, that magic of those holidays back when we were children. So, the really simple way of life. They captured those people, and some of the families that have been coming here for 20 years. Their children are now teenagers, but they grew up here every year.
Wow.
And we really, really wanted to try and create that same magic, just in a different way. And we've had people that have been coming back to us for the last 4 years that stayed in the bell tents last year, want to come back and try the safari tents and are really excited by all the changes.
Yes.
And what we love is we're hearing a lot of repeat customers saying, every year you're just upgrading, you're doing something different, you're putting something else in. We can see the amount of effort you're putting into this place. And I think Nick and I, there will be a point where we have to stop and say, okay, we're done. But I think from a customer point of view, the feedback we're getting is they really appreciate that we are continually investing in what we've got here. And I think another thing is as well, it's really helpful to have, we've got a 3-year-old and a nearly 2-year-old. And I think what's helpful is we looked at our garden and we looked at our campsite and said, as a family, what would we want? So we want clean facilities and child-friendly facilities, foremost. And then also, we want a garden where parents can relax, have a drink, and not worry, and it's safe. And I certainly need that when I go out with my kids. So I think we really have designed this with parents in mind.
Yeah, you've got that lens that you're looking at everything through that lens, and
yeah, absolutely.
And it's a lovely sort of mission vision to have, to create memories like that. I mean, a lot of people say that, but you genuinely want to, and you're carrying on a tradition that's been at that site for all those years. I mean, that is really special. I guess in a way that brings you back onto this next question about how do you keep ahead of the competition. You've got a very clear sort of focus on what it is you're trying to achieve, but are you looking at, you're in quite a busy part of the world for accommodation provision. How are you managing to stay ahead of the field?
It's a really good question. I think the one thing that I would say, so we're looking at, for example, the Diary. I mean, this is our first full season opened as a refurbished campsite. And I think the one thing that we may have done is, by us being so geared towards families, what that means is that I think it's quite difficult for us to get maybe the sort of slightly older generation that want to come to a quiet site in low season. So we find when the kids are off, we're literally bursting at the seams, but when they're not, we're not actually as busy as perhaps some may be. Because for those people that are looking to go to, for a quiet site, and they perhaps might choose an adult only or not a site that's so geared towards families. So that's one thing that we just need to kind of maybe think about our marketing moving forwards. Maybe we sort of try and balance it a bit more. To answer your question about the accommodation, I think the biggest thing, isn't it, is that your reviews are key. I mean, if I go to book anything and there's a review that kind of under 9, I won't go there. So I think the big thing that we pride ourselves in here is that we need to make sure that the basic things don't get forgotten. So clean facilities, customer experience, and trying to be really customer facing, because I think that's the key to repeat business and people having a nice time. In terms of trying to sort of stay sort of with the competition or ahead of it, hopefully at times, I think there's a real beauty for the site. We're only 9 acres here, and one of that is the paddock area. The beauty of that is it's still quite a small site, so I think a lot of people quite like that. And it's the different types of accommodation we've got here, which I think would hopefully help us. You know, you could stay in a safari tent. I mean, we've gone above and beyond with the facilities we provided for those tents. We don't just have a little toilet and a little kitchen. They've got fantastic facilities. So we're just trying to do everything where when people turn up, they go, wow, this truly was a luxurious stay.
Yeah, it's beyond their expectation. And then you're always going to get a good review when you've exceeded what somebody's, thinks they're paying for.
Exactly.
There are two sort of standout trends that keep popping up. They're pretty evident everywhere, really, in all the research. Obviously, sustainability, and the other is wellness. Are you plugging into either of that? I mean, obviously, I'm guessing you sound like you're inherently conscientious people, so I'm sure you've got green practices going on at the site.
Yeah.
But the other thing with wellness, tell me, are you looking at introducing anything along the lines of, I don't know how you would define that. Some people would say wellness is saunas and hot tubs. Some people would say it's about providing a space to just breathe and relax. And I'm wondering if that's something that is more of more interest to those adult-only shoulder months type people that wouldn't necessarily be coming in the main school holidays.
It's a really good question. I mean, we've already when we bought the place, we kind of said, right, what do we want the place to become ideally? And we bought the domain names and things for food at the farm and wellness at the farm.
Okay.
So the long-term plan, I mean, we actually put planning in to convert one of the barns we've got here to a yoga studio at the beginning of the year, which we've got granted. And I think long-term, we're definitely looking to focus in on, I mean, the reason we've gone to put what we call hard accommodation in is because at the moment, in October, the business shuts. That's it. And what we'd like to do is to be able to offer long-term retreats and out-of-season retreats, be it for art classes, yoga, surfing, whatever that may be, and pairing up with a local surf club, which are either side of us. We've got King Surf, which is someone that we send all our friends down to, or people when they come and stay. And then we've got Waves, that's the other side of the valley. So I think that's definitely something that we're looking. I think the big thing is that we've done an enormous amount since we built it. And I think it's really important that we focus on getting the core business working smoothly and efficiently before we try and add something else in.
Yes, people make that mistake often, don't they? They try and do everything at once and then spread themselves very thin. That seems a very sensible way to do things. And you're still so young, really, in terms of how many seasons you've been going. How are you finding that adjustment from your previous roles into full-out hospitality management, bookings, people, problems, all that stuff?
I have found it horrific to the point where I don't even know why we bought it half the time. So, through being a property developer, you're employing people that are, even down to trade, they're all generally very professional people. I know the building game doesn't have the best of reputations at times, but actually, generally you're employing really quite solid people, and definitely on the office background. I couldn't cope with the hospitality side that people, if they're not happy, for whatever the reason, perhaps something we could change or something we couldn't, sometimes they just get in their car and drive out the car park.
What?
I'm like, what's happening here?
Oh, goodness.
I found it, the chef side of things we found enormously difficult, didn't we?
Yeah, I think finding those key core people to come and really invest in us as well, has been really tricky. We have a fantastic chef now, and we're very lucky. And what he wanted was a project, and we're like, here's a commercial kitchen, here is our farm. Could you create a menu that will complement what we're doing here? And he has, and he's been fantastic. So we're very lucky, but it's the hospitality sector is really hard, and finding staff and, you know, making sure, because a lot of people want to come down here, and then you have to provide accommodation. So there's all of that side of things as well, which is quite tricky.
Yeah. So how big is your team? Oh, sorry, Karen.
No. One thing that I was going to just add in is I think that whilst COVID was great for certain elements of this industry, what's been quite challenging about staffing is that clearly the hospitality, and I blame it heavily on Brexit, the hospitality industry, there just isn't the people there. I mean, the foreign workers we used to have are definitely not in the country, so it makes it very difficult to staff. And I think also with COVID, there was so many people that did this whole, I want to do a life change. So, let's go and be a warden on a campsite. And they turn up and you'd go through in the interview, look, you know, there's a lot of cleaning that's got to be done. There's a lot of graft work. It isn't just pottering around and then going to the beach every evening. And so what we do now, for example, we simply will not employ a warden unless they've got at least 3 seasons experience, because they turn up with rose tinted glasses and end up, it just doesn't work. So that's kind of been the key thing, isn't it? I think the staffing's been a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So how big is your team now? Because you've got quite a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that, weirdly enough, I've been looking at this week, just the budgets again. I mean, you basically so we have a full-time receptionist, so up until the end of August, you seem to be busy on the phone every day. So we have a full-time receptionist. We've always got one person front of house, low season, and then obviously a chef in the kitchen, and then 2 park wardens that are kind of full-time doing the grounds, the facilities and changeovers. But then above that, you've probably got another 5, 6, we've got an animal manager as well that's here for, you know, she does sort of part-time hours a week. But the pool of people is probably about 20, and they'll range from doing 40 hours to some that will only do 5 or 10 a week, if that makes sense.
Gosh. So your overheads are significant. It's quite scary, isn't it?
It's a really good point. I mean, look, from the face of it, people turn up here and go, "Oh my God, this is lovely. It's great." I'm not, as I said earlier in the call, I'm not 100% convinced yet that, I mean, the cafe and the food side is a business within itself. So, you know, if you went to set a cafe up tomorrow, you'd have at least 2 or 3 people working in that, do cooking, serving and clearing away. So, you know, I'm not sold yet that we've actually got the balance right, and this year will probably show that. But I mean, some days you can do really good takings on the food, and then sometimes you cook one lunch, so it's a difficult balance.
And I guess,
there's quality people.
I guess it's going to take a couple of seasons to kind of shake out where the sort of revenue is most effective and sort of work out, from a business point of view, the balance in the mix. Because it's probably quite early days to see profit, but I'm guessing because of all the investment you've done.
I think, I mean, last year our business runs till April, and we did turn a profit last year. I think what's different this year is we have kind of ramped up on the food side of things, so there is a bigger overhead there. And also, I mean, I don't work in the business day to day. I kind of deal with anything when we do a project. Lisa does work in the business day to day, and she deals with kind of all the events planning, overseeing the book, spot checking bookings to make sure that's all going okay, and the marketing side of it, and the music side.
I think what we've realised, if we're honest, is if you live and own a campsite, even with the best will in the world that we said we're going to pull away and have more time with the family, let someone else general manage, which we have done, you'll never fully out. I think if you own a campsite, and you want that campsite to work, you have to be customer facing. They want to see that family run business. They want to see us in the business.
Yeah.
And also, I think for us, we always have that fear. We've put so much in, we've invested so much in everything that we need to make sure it's being run properly. So I think there's that, we've got one foot in and we'll never fully come away, will we, really, from the business? No. So I think for anyone that might ever think about undertaking something like this, it's been fantastic. Like it's a really different lifestyle from the one we had up country, and it's beautiful. We wake up every day to this incredible sky, to lovely people, but it's a lot of work. This isn't what people come in and see. It's a lot of work, a lot of money, and there's a lot of risk involved.
Yeah.
I think.
So it must still be in that scary phase because you're still, 4 years in and you've done a lot of work before you sort of first full season. But I think you wouldn't have done it unless you deep down somehow you could get through this tricky phase and see the sort of the positive, amazing bit at the end. I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You're definitely in the scary roller coastery bit, aren't you? In a way.
Yeah, I think I'm a firm believer that to build anything always takes to build something good always takes a lot of effort. And when I started my first business 16, 17 years ago, you work every hour God's end. I think the one thing that we didn't realise when we bought the campsite that was here before is just quite, you look at it and you think, okay, well this is how it runs and we'll be able to manage that. And there's just vastly more to it than we certainly thought, isn't there?
I think, if we look at it in stages, if you look at year one and, Nick was running around the garden with board shorts, flip-flops, catching goats, and then having to on and go up country and do his proper job. And we come from there where we were totally green. We had no idea what we were doing. I was having to program a booking system I had no idea about. And we look at how far we've come now, where we actually understand how this business operates and how it works effectively. So I think if we look back that over the last 4 years, we've come on so far to where we are now, but we still have lots to learn. And, there are campsites in this local area where there are people who have been doing this for years and years and years. So we do not take this for granted and we do not think we know everything there is to know at all. I think we're still very new to this. And we are always learning, hence why when we looked at the bell tent and we looked at the win we get on the valley, we knew that the structure of the bell tent wasn't going to work. For us, it was just going to cost us money. So we are always trying to improve what we're doing because the safari tents are a much better structure for us and a much better offering. And I think we'll just continue in that way. When we feel like something isn't working for us, we will try our best to change it and improve. And I think, as long as we've always got that drive every day when we get up to create a really quality stay here, then we're doing something right.
Well, I think you're doing brilliantly. I mean, honestly, and you're still, you've got the right attitude. You're doing everything right. I think you're going to be a fantastic success, and I think it will grow with your family, and you will. Well, yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to be down your way in July, so I might pop in and
we would love
say
to
hello.
have you here, children. Come and try us out. I have to say, our son, who's three, he's nearly 2. His first word was tractor. This is not a working farm, but apparently I think he will be on a tractor. So hopefully, we've created a place that our children are going to grow up in. I mean, it's a dream for most children. So, it's a lovely place to bring a family up, and we're very grateful for that.
Wonderful. Well, there's a couple of last questions, really. One of them is, who is your inspiration? So is there any person or any place that you've been, any similar offering or part of an offering that you are trying to emulate or would like to emulate in your future with this site?
I have to say, there isn't anywhere that I speak for myself, there's nowhere that I've been that kind of gave us the inspiration. I actually think it was more the fact that whenever I used to go away in the van, even well before we had kids, I tended to not want to go to the traditional campsites because I preferred the more rustic nature, if that makes sense. So there's a place spot called Rhetoric Mill, which is a really rustic place in Morganport. But what they absolutely nailed for me is the very relaxed vibe. It was really inviting. The people that run it and own it and work there were really, really nice. And I think that whilst what we built is very different to them, I mean, it's very different, the essence of how they approach it and their approach to people and the relaxed nature of it was what we really wanted to impress upon what we've got here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, Rhetoric Mill for us, that was our first when Nick and I were child free and could have a bit more fun. We used to stay there. And it was all the festoon lights, live music every night, great food. For us, that was our first introduction really into Cornwall. And I think that's something that we kind of took from. And when we said about campsite, the lovely people that run it said, look, we'll help you. So we got the pizza oven from them. They gave us a lot of support and advice. Wilf, who runs it, he was helping us move hay up here. So we had a lot of support from the local community. And we did actually stay next door to Vickery in a place called the Park, which is a bit more upmarket, a bit more specialist. We stayed in one of their yurts and they had this fantastic communal kitchen, didn't they? That actually, the communal kitchen. And we looked at that and went, how lovely. They've got their own glamping area and they've got a communal kitchen with all the stuff you need to cook. And it was really beautifully done. And I think we've taken a bit of inspiration from that as well.
Oh, that sounds great. I have to look them up. And this is a funny question. How do you relax?
Yeah.
Not applicable.
I think, to be honest, we could give an answer that people might want to hear. We don't, and that's probably one of the negatives at the moment. That I haven't helped myself because I have a full-time job in a company that I run in Surrey, and this has become bigger than what I thought it was going to be. So that's really difficult. We've obviously got two really young kids. I think if we didn't have our kids, it would be a different conversation. But ultimately, with hindsight, when we bought the place, we only had one child, Sophia, and we weren't planning on a second. And having two kids for us is a total game changer than just having one. This nonsense about it not being that much more difficult. For us, it's been a lot harder because there's always one of them awake or you've got to deal with. So I think what we need to focus on ourselves now as a family is actually creating that downtime because we haven't been able to prioritise that.
And we will be pleased to know we brought a camper van, and for the very first time since our children were born, last weekend, we went away to another campsite.
Yeah.
We went to another campsite. There was a thought about, it's going to be a bit tricky, let's just stay on our own campsite. But we drove right up the coast to a beautiful place called Gwithian, and we stayed on a campsite there. And it was amazing. And we actually became campers. So I think there's going to be a lot more of that, hopefully, in the summer.
Oh, lovely. I love that. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much, guys. That's been really delightful to chat with you. And best of luck for the future.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you so much.